So please, who has the first burning question? Yes.
The first three presentations were very interesting. So I wonder if you could go down the line and tell us how much they cost.
That's of course an excellent question. Don, can I start with you?
Can you guys hear me with this? Okay, excellent. So the main cost from Wash Mobile comes from the test kit itself. And so the test kit we use is the EC test kit developed at MIT. And it's currently the cheapest available test to situate water into WHO risk categories. So it's $3 per test.
$3 per test. John?
Yes, well, I didn't really feature the range of products and what have you because I didn't want it to be a commercial. But the 6 cubic meter portable, septic tank, for example, will be an item that will come in at under £1,000. But that's a lot, and the current work we're doing is actually decentralized local manufacture, which we're still a work in progress, because unless these things become affordable, and it has to be cost competitive with concrete and cement, which is the conventional way of attacking the problem. The larger scale digestion type facilities, again, you're looking at a couple of grand for a vessel that's holding 40 cubic meters of liquid, 40 tons of liquid. So a fairly large, in domestic terms, facility. But again, at the moment, the work is based on imported products rather than decentralized manufacture, and that's where we're taking the project. Because they have to be affordable within the community. And I guess the further comment I would make is how are we going to make them affordable? Our goal is that the biogas, etc., that can be made from the larger vessels is a saleable commodity and will compete with wood fuel, and that is how we get the cash flowing through the system to justify sanitation.
Petra?
Yeah, one Solvatten, to invest in one Solvatten, it's about $90. And we have seen now Solvatten in use 7 years without any changeable parts that need to be complement with. And we are producing about 6,000 liters on average in Western Kenya as a reference project. We see 6,000 liters a year per Solvatten, but it's also hot water. So the cost just to heat that water is, return of investment very quick. I think it's 2 öre. What's 2 öre in? So it's 0.2 euro cent per liter. So in a lifespan, we can see at least 60,000 liters that can be produced with Solvatten. And it's not just a theory, we have been back to the users and seen, so it's reality, and it's a lot of cost savings.
And in terms of the ESOS toilets, we are not there yet to calculate any cost. So I've seen prices of what we would call regular emergency toilets. That's around $50 per unit, but that's producing them on a rather cheap location, and then you still have to ship them. But with all the electronics, obviously it will come out a little bit more expensive. That's very obvious, right? But that's why we're calculating now about 5 different business models, and also obviously we have to have it from a wider system boundary, actually no system boundary. So also including collection and also including maintenance and transport, emptying, all these aspects will also be taken into consideration in the business concept. But no, we're not there yet to put a real price on it. Thank you. Yes?
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Samuel Jesse from Ghana, University of Energy and Natural Resources. Talking about cost, my question really goes to Mariska. UNESCO-IHE is very popular in my region, Ghana, because a lot of my colleagues have been studying in there on one program or the other. Your technology, it looks really interesting, But then, looking at cost, I was just thinking, have you considered probably using some portions of your technology that is basically wood-based? You know, in Africa, because of our peculiar region in the tropics, wood is relatively cheaper. I don't know whether you've looked at research, probably, to look at the involvement of wood to see whether, you know, the cost can come down so that it becomes more acceptable and more affordable for poorer, you know, people within the region to really embrace it. Thank you.
Thank you. So the question is, are we including wood in
Yes,
the
if it's
toilet?
possible.
Yeah. So the original idea of this toilet is to develop it for emergency settings, right? So it needs to be light because you need to be able to transport it. But one of the concepts that we are now at a couple of next stages is to look at how can we break down the different elements of the toilet and install them individually in either existing systems or a cheaper version of it. So that you can make use of the modular system, for example, to take out the different elements, to have the electronics there to say it's full, yes or not, to make sure that you have a solar system to have wash water there, to see how these different elements can also be marketable. Right? And then you can just shop around in what is in the ESOS shop, let's say, and see what you could apply to an existing toilet or one with the superstructure of your own choice. So that can be an issue. But for the toilet itself to be ready to be shipped, then a wooden structure would be too heavy and too difficult to assemble and to disassemble as well. Thank you. Please, the gentleman in the middle.
Thanks. Hi, my name is Matt Kierkegaard. Talking about Wash Mobile, I'm really interested in the idea of the single water quality grade, and I was wondering how you came to the decision to use that metric, and how that works in practice, and what the drawbacks are to that.
Yeah. So we ultimately decided to use this just because ease of use, essentially. If someone logs into our online platform or requests information back from them to give an individual on the ground, I don't know, readout in number of colony forming units per ml, didn't seem like it had the same, I guess, usability as a grade. And so the function that we used was developed by a team in India with whom we work. I can't remember right now the name of the institute, but and so they had done previous research to determine the necessary weighting for each of the different components. And so part of the system with Wash Mobile is that it's also expandable, and that if, for instance, I know a previous speaker mentioned problems of arsenic in water quality, this function is expandable in that we could also include an arsenic consideration. So I don't know if that answers your question, or...
Yeah, or any drawbacks you've seen with that?
So in terms of... So, with the disseminating this information to individuals, we haven't necessarily seen any drawbacks thus far, and when we engage strategically with governments, multilateral organizations, and NGOs, the information we give them is very different. It's kind of a full breakdown. Obviously, condensing many different tests into one variable does have drawbacks, and that it will hide a lot of things, but in terms of I guess, point of use and use by individuals, we haven't seen any negative impact so far.
There's a question here in the front.
Hi, my name is Saskia Novitsky. Thanks very much for your presentations. Very interesting. I just had a couple of questions for Alison on the dams. I'm curious about who's building these dams in Kenya and kind of the level of design that goes into them, and then the expected lifespan of that concrete. That's the first question. And the second thing is, I'm wondering if you could give us an idea of the range of residence time, or the time it takes the water to actually flow through those.
So who's constructing them? We're working with an NGO called Excellent Development, who are based here in London, and they work with local partners. So in Kenya, they work with an NGO called the Africa Sand Dam Foundation. We're also doing a bit of work with them in Zimbabwe with an NGO called Dabani Trust. And they work with the communities to build them. So I think this is not an area that I've particularly worked on, but as I understand, the NGOs kind of give the community advice on siting where the dam should be built to kind of optimise its performance, and then the dam is built with community labour, working together with the NGO, providing the kind of expert designs. Your second question, I've forgotten already.
So the residence time of the water.
Oh, the residence time. Yeah, again, I don't know, but I think that's going to be quite an interesting question, thinking about this slow sand filtration question, because some of the residence time could be as long as the whole dry season, so several months. So I think that's why we're seeing quite good slow sand filtration performance because of the long residence times. But we haven't really looked into that yet. That's just my hunch going into the research.
Thank you.
First a question up there, yes, and then a question in front.
Hi everyone, Soha Sutralingam from PwC. I've got a couple of questions, one for Mariska and one for Donald. So for Mariska, I think the e-source toilet's amazing. It's all singing, all dancing toilet, and I think obviously there's a lot that you've put effort in terms of developing it. My question is, in the next phase, are you thinking about accessibility, particularly for people with disability? And then the other issue is that given that it's solar powered, and you need water, there are certain parameters that you need to make sure that the condition is suitable, where you can invest, and are you sort of coming up with those sort of criteria for the next phase? And then for Donald, the question is how, in terms of the dissemination of the data and accessibility, how widely is it available, particularly on the individual level? Thanks.
You want to answer first?
Sure. So we're currently in the midst of a 5-year pilot program for Wash Mobile in 3 cities in Burkina Faso, so Ouagadougou, Puitanga, and Fara Ngorma. And so at this point, we've only begun small-scale disseminations to individuals. So unfortunately, I don't have a robust answer to your question. But it's available, kind of the model, I can speak more generally of that so far. It's both response, so people can text in and get a notification when they want the information, as well it's also available as a subscription service in that individuals will receive a text message when new water quality is available or water quality data is available for sources near them. Because the system isn't kind of a constant monitoring system. I mean, we don't even in cities like New York, we don't have that. People still go out and take water from strategically placed outposts throughout the city. And so it is kind of delayed in that there's a waiting period between each test. So in this response service, it will be pushed automatically to individuals who have prior subscribed.
Does that answer your question? At least for Donald, yeah. So in terms of the ESOS toilets with disabilities, definitely. That is one of the high priorities. And one of the nice things of having these cubicles that are kind of standalone is that we can also quite easily try it out, for example, in the Netherlands with festivals. We have a lot of music festivals in the summer. So, and the organization of these kind of festivals, they're quite happy to cooperate with us and test it out. Right? So that would be a very nice period to try out, see if we can make it accessible with a ramp or a different kind of approach. It will be difficult to let go of the elevation of the system because it's exactly this raised system that makes it attractive in different regions where you have a high groundwater table or where excavation is either impossible or very expensive. So to let go of that approach, we'd rather not. So to look into what other aspects we can do in terms of making it accessible for disabled persons, that's a very high priority. And then the second issue of having water available, yes, of course, that's always an issue, as it is to have, if you're in another area, toilet paper available or female hygiene products. You know, these issues are always sort of a side condition. And if there's no water, then your flush system or your wash system, there's no flush, but there will also not be any wash water, right? So. Yes, it does have as a kind of prerequisite that there is any kind of water and relatively clean water available on the spot, for sure. So if that's not there, then the wash function will not be working. That is obviously. Thank you. And there was a question here in front, yes.
Okay, my name is Moise Ngwa from the University of Florida Emerging Pathogens Institute. And my question is perhaps for all of you, and it concerns the sustainability of your solutions to WASH problems. One of the observations that we have made, maybe with the introduction of stoves, is that they are introduced in these communities 1, 2, 3 years, it cannot be sustained. So how did you include that aspect into your solution to see that these technologies are sustained long term?
Well, for Petra, I think this is an easy one.
Yes, sustainability has been part of the development for Solvatten, to look at the life cycle cost, look at the quality, look at the, to see that it's so robust, that it's aimed for solution for really tough situations. If you handle it with care, you can use it for so many years, perhaps 15 years, we don't know yet, because we haven't been out so long. But I think that's important to see that if you compare, for example, with chlorine, quite normal way of using treatment technology, you have to add every year you have to add more chlorine, and it's not sustainable. And it's not sustainable with the energy from the forest. It's not sustainable because we are here now, and to use solar energy, it's so important to use it in different ways, not just to use it as a light for poor people or perhaps charging your mobile. Use it also for the power of heating water. So I think sustainability is so important and has been so part of our development for Solvatten. So I hope I can, that's from my,
To me, it's maybe John?
I think your point is one of the key ones. I personally have an opinion that there are two sources of money that will make sanitation and sanitation services prosper in low-income communities. The first one is the Sanergy model. If you provide a clean toilet, people will pay to use the toilet, and that's their model. And therefore, by getting a structure, a market, a brand, etc., as they are doing, the community themselves will pay money for a clean toilet. But the second model, and the one that I personally have a lot of excitement and anticipation about, is the enormous ticking time bomb, which in my opinion is deforestation, especially these urban communities which are such a magnet. The estimates are that there is 500,000 tons of wood burnt each year in Dar es Salaam alone for fuel. And that is a product that cannot be replaced at the moment because there is no alternative. There have been African towns which have tried to ban the use of charcoal. It just doesn't work because if you're poor, the food you want to eat needs to be cooked because it's grains. And you will find a way of finding the money. And charcoal is the second biggest source of expenditure in our surveys, in the informal settlements in Dar. And it's a staggering proportion of their income. Food is the other one. This wood is not being replaced. So long and short of it is, wood is going to get scarcer, wood will get more expensive. If we can find a way of getting gas into the communities that's made from their own waste, that will fund sanitation. But that's a dream, it's not happening yet. It's happening in some rural areas more than it is in urban. But yes, we do have to find ways in which businesses make money by being involved in sanitation.
But feel invited to participate in this thinking process, to make everything more sustainable, because local input and academic input it's very important. So thanks a lot for this question. I have room for one more final question. No? Okay. That's. I hope to have answered most of the answers together with the panel. So thank you all again.